Hello, back again for part 2, in which you will see at least 2 mistakes that I try to rectify, and again a lesson in perseverance. Okay, so in this little piece here, what I'm doing is placing the inks down, and I'm going to let them spread. I'm not going to move them around. My intention was it to flow as wide as possible. I think it gives a cute effect. It almost looks like a bud. Ooh, the beginning bits of a poppy. I just felt it gave a little bit more interest to the piece rather than it just being one massive blended reds. Let's put it that way. It's always fun experimenting with these paintings and coming up with an idea that you may think will work. It may not work. You know, part of the fun is to try. Okay, what I'm doing there is just using some kitchen paper just to smooth those edges down. Okay, so you'll see this is the first mistake. I blew with the air gun, and can you see all those little white splodges everywhere? Oh, we're straight into mistake number 2. So I put down what I thought was black ink. I thought maybe it would give it some interest. Hated it. It almost looks brown. And at this point, after just having committed a terrible crime with my airbrush and leaving lots of splodges of ink which have, as you can see, left white holes, I've just done a second mistake. At this point I could have said, stuff this for a laugh and left, given up. But I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. So there I am trying to fix my mistake by placing, well, some red, bit of gold, and letting it do its thing. And it's this point which I get a clean bottle, a cooling bottle. I add some pinata red into it and some isopropyl alcohol. I'm diluting the red in effect. And I'm going to do something which will look heinous to you, but I'm going to start puddling down blocks of red. I'm looking around and I'm wondering where I can place that red. In effect, this is just to fill up the paper. But I was so annoyed with myself, and you do have to be careful with that airbrush. Be careful in what angle you blow. It's difficult to explain which angle is the best to blow without actually physically showing you. Okay, and here I am creating a little bit more interest. And eventually all those white blotches, they just disappear or become unnoticeable, thank goodness. So here I am just sitting. In fact, I sat that for almost 5 minutes. I was like, shall I just give up? Shall I not? Shall I keep going? And I thought, I've already been sitting here for like 25, 30 minutes. No, I'm going to keep going. And there's no crime in going over a part of your piece that you've already worked on. And there I've used the rest of that diluted down piñata red. And it actually came out really nice. It kind of blended with what was there previously. And I love the end effect. It also revives any brass or gold or silver you may have put down, any of the metallics. And they start moving around again, and it's such fun to see them float. So I'm creating a little bit more. Here I go, adding some isopropyl alcohol and some of the red. And I'm flooding. You must think I've gone mad. Bit more brass. And again, I really love the effect that gave. If I'd have kept doing a circular motion, I may have got that kind of rose effect. Oh, I am going round. But it's not what I wanted. I didn't want it to look too much like blooms. Only just slightly. But if you did that, if you kept going round in a circle, the outer bits would dry faster than the inner bit, and you would get those little circular, almost petal shapes. Almost what I've got there. And I'm sorry I didn't zoom in for that bit. That would have been helpful to you. Okay, I'm zooming in here. Let's see if you can see what I did just before. It's a very similar process. So there were two different types of ink. There was the diluted one and the non-diluted one with a touch of brass on the top. Sort of going around in a circular motion so that that puddle of ink there, the fluid bit, doesn't seep over too much to the right or to the left and spoil what was previously done. It's a way of controlling the flow. And the other way is to use the hair blow dryer much higher above the painting, further up. The further up you go, the less actual pushing around of that fluid will happen, and it will just dry it off for you. Okay, I'm clearly loving this technique. For this piece, I must admit it did work out well. It was very diluted down, that red, so it didn't exactly erase what was there before. It just sort of helped in blending the two together. It is fun using a brush. You feel more artistic. I know there are some artists out there that get a lot of stick for fluid art. I think it's very unfair. In general, well, especially where I live, I'm in contact with a lot of traditional type artists, and they have their opinions. And although they love the end result, if they ever saw how it was produced, I don't think they would think of it in the same way. They're kind of traditional in the sense of palette knives and brushes. For them, that's more artistic. But not everybody likes boat scenes and flowers in a vase and apples and oranges in a plate. There's nothing wrong with it, absolutely nothing at all, but there's nothing wrong with abstract art either. In fact, I think it requires much more imagination than simply copying some flowers in a vase. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments below. So this piece is starting to fill out. I'm kind of filling in between all of those pieces, all of those flowers. Let's call them flowers. Here I've turned the blow dryer right up just to quickly dry that area, because I was fearing that it was going to seep into the area on the top right there. So that's why that was full blast. Kind of gave a petally effect. It's nice. So more reflection. It's always the best way. Don't rush too much into your paintings if you can. It's better to take it slow, long and slow, rather than fast. And then it's too late to do anything. And it's a shame you can't see the reflection of the brass from this angle. It's just really pretty. I do love my metallics in any of my paintings. In fact, lately I've been adding a lot of glitter as well, just really fine lines of glitter that are the same color as the principal color of your painting. And I just think it looks so pretty. So I'm almost finished here. I'm going to start wisping out all those hard edges. And I'm not going to make the same mistake as I did last time with the air gun. So I started with the airbrush, and then I changed my mind. No point taking a risk at the last moment. And because of all that adding of the diluted inks, all of those whites, pure alcohol splodges have gone, I'm pleased to say. So it was a happy accident, as we like to say that. If you're having trouble achieving that wispy edge, just use a little bit of kitchen paper and blot it off at the ends. Okay, we're arriving at the end of this piece. I've filled in as much as I'd like it filled, and I've left, as you can see, I would consider it a nice amount of white space. Although there's nothing wrong with having the entire piece covered. But for the end purposes, as you'll soon see, it worked out better this way. Right, tidy up time. And that's how it would look if you put a matting on it and framed it up. But that's not what this piece ended up being. Here's some close-ups. Ta-da! This is what this turned out to be. I ended up using it for a tray, and it turned out really lovely. This Cleopatra glue is the equivalent to your Mod Podge, just by the way. It's exactly the same thing. I'm applying it with a brush. Covering the entire surface very well, but very thin layer. I've cut this down to size already. There wasn't much that needed to be cut off, but you can see the tray is white, and those white areas I think just blend in lovely. This is going to have a coat of resin in which I put just a little bit of white mica sparkle flakes just to give it some bling. I love the way this ended up looking. It really did look spectacular, and again it shows the versatility of alcohol inks. And I'm not sure I would have achieved the same thing if I had have painted it directly inside the tray. I think that would have been quite difficult to do. I'm using one of those metal rollers, and I'm going from the inside to the out, Any excess glue that squishes out from the end you can just take off. As flat as possible. And there it is with its coat of resin, which I didn't film. You've seen my other videos on how to resin, top coat. It's the same process. Really hoped you enjoyed this video. Please do leave your comments below, and if you haven't subscribed, don't forget to click on the subscribe button. I absolutely love your comments and I love all of your support, so thanks so much for being around and sticking around. And I wish you a great end of the week and weekend. Bye.